So I want to talk about Worm's two-step research process, and partially because as we were kind of brainstorming what we might cover, you kind of launched into here's a little bit of our research process, and I just thought it was absolutely fascinating. And I think one, just the way you were able to articulate it in terms of what you're doing at various different stages, but also just the fact that it's not hard, but I think you have a unique approach. Can you talk about those two steps? And I won't give away what they are, but kind of the two steps in that process and how you think about that.
We can talk about those two steps. And this all comes from Arnie Allison, our founder and CIO. His mind is way more interesting than mine. But the number one step of research is what he calls the Jane Goodall approach, which is you plant yourself on the hillside and you just watch the chimpanzees, and you don't have an opinion, and you just watch them. You take notes. You see how they interact with each other. And that's like our sort of metaphor for how we approach researching industries and companies, which is we take our time, we have no opinions, and we just start watching them and seeing how they interact with the world around them. I think that the one thing that I've personally learned the most over the last, let's say decade of doing this now is like just this idea that it's so important to, while there's a big difference between like conviction and opinions. Conviction is great. Opinions are really bad because opinions will really screw you up. What's really important about this first step is just gathering the raw data. Just saying, okay, well, this company is doing this. This is how, this other company is doing it. This is how many customers they have. And you just start sketching out, quite literally, all the different companies in a specific industry that you're interested in. The next part of the research process is the engineering phase. That's what we call like the engineering phase, where we start like taking it apart and seeing actually how all these things work. So we just want to understand like the inputs and outputs of a business, really this idea of value proposition of like customers are exchanging capital for a product or service. What exactly is the product or service? How is it made? Where does it come from? And so this is like really like the technical analysis that we really spend a lot of time on, which is once we've sort of identified the dynamics of an industry, we just just spend as much time as possible to understand literally how the products are made or the services. And so if we're looking at, let's say, just to use a big example like Amazon, how does the seller system work? Like how does the actual platform dynamics work? Who makes money? What percentage? Like exactly how it works. You know, we don't care as much about like the high level profits, like how much Amazon is extracting, at the end of every quarter. We want to understand like the value proposition for the sellers on the platform, for really like the nitty gritty of it. So that's sort of like our overall framework, which is we call the two step. It's the Jane Goodall, and then sort of the engineering phase, the Elon Musk, the engineering phase, take it apart and put it back together again.
I love that second part because I feel like it recognizes that this quote shows up in a lot